Meantime, I get to learn something else. Today is Beis Nissen. It's the Yom Heilula, the yahrzeit of the Rebbe of Rebbe Shalom there. 104 years since his passing. Passed away in Tazria, 1920. Shin Pei Daled, 2024. 104 years since the passing of the Rebbe of Shab. In the Rostov, on Motzei Shabbos, Shabbos was Rosh Chodesh Nissen that year. On Motzei Shabbos, the Beis Nissen, the Rebbe Rashab's neshama ascended on high, and Rebbe Rashab said before his passing, he said, "If gay in Himmel, and the Ksavim Lazichai, I am ascending to heaven, and my writings I'm leaving for you." The Rebbe dwells on these words and explains that it's not just an expression. He is saying, "I am ascending to heaven, but through the fact that I'm leaving my writings with you, I'm leaving myself with you as well. The same I that's going to heaven is remaining with you through my writings. So when you study my writings and my teachings, you have a grip on me, on my essence, because the essence of a tzaddik is contained within his writing. So we know that when we learn the teachings of a tzaddik, we are connecting with that tzaddik in the fullest sense of the word. When we learn Tanya, we have the Alter Rebbe in the fullest sense of the word. When we learn teaching of the Rebbe, we have the Rebbe in the fullest sense of the word, and so on. So, just to share one story about the Rebbe Rashab. Rebbe Rashab was a young man, 14, 15, maybe 16 years old. He was once davening, and he davened with great intent, great kavanah. In the middle of davening, he developed a nosebleed. There was blood coming out from his nose, and he didn't realize. He wasn't aware. He was engrossed in his davening. He wasn't aware of the fact there was blood dripping from his nose. One of the Hasidim passed by and saw he was the Rebbe's son. It's the Rebbe's son. Saw the Rebbe's son standing in davening, and blood was dripping from his nose. So he went over to the Rebbe, his father, disturbed him, and he said, "Your son is standing in davening. Blood rushing from his nose." So the Rebbe Marash picked himself up, and he went to the place of the Rebbe Rashab. He placed his finger in the Rebbe Rashab. No, the Rebbe Rashab was completely unaware of the whole event, bleeding and fingers. He just continued davening, and the Rebbe Marash stood there for a significant amount of time until the blood stopped. He let go. He went back to the Rebbe Rashab continued davening, completely unaware of the entire event. Give you an idea of once I'm telling one story, I have another story that I like very much. This story doesn't come from a Chabad source, but there was a Yid in Eretz Yisrael who was called the Akiva Sefer. He was the Peshberger Rav. Before the war, he was the Rav. The Peshberg was now Bratislava, and he came to Eretz Yisrael, and he told over the following story. He seems that he was a young Rav in the late in the 1910s. He was a young Rav. He was a descendant of some Sefer, so he inherited the Rabbanus of Bratislava from Pressburg from Sefer. So the Rebbe Rashab came to visit Pressburg. He came together with the Rebbetzin Shter Sarah. This is the way he told over the story. And the Rebbetzin Shter Sarah came to see him. This Akiva Sefer. He said to him, "I'm here in town together with my husband, and I was wondering if I could ask you a thing." So he said, "What's the favor?" So she said, "My husband, whenever he comes to the city, I know he's going to visit the local church. So I'm sure he's going to come to visit. And I was wondering if I can trouble you to bring up a touchy subject. Maybe you'll be able to help." He said, "What is it?" So he said, she said, the Rebbe said, "My husband suffers from terrible fever. He refuses to see a dentist. So maybe when he comes to see you, you can discuss with him this matter and then convince him to see a dentist." So he said, "Okay, I'll try." Anyway, the Rebbe came to see him, discussed various matters, discussed matters of halacha. And then he said to the Rebbe, he said, "Okay, if I ask him a personal question, The Rebbe Rashab said, I understand that you suffer tremendously from toothache. And I understand that you don't want to visit a dentist. I'm curious to know, why don't you want to visit a dentist? Maybe the dentist will alleviate your pain. So the Rebbe Rashab said to him, the answer is quite simple. If I go to a dentist, he's going to insert artificial substances into my teeth, fillings, maybe false teeth, whatever it is that, and artificial substances in your teeth make shayvus, milkix, basic, chametz, pesa. So I'd rather steer away from it, and therefore I don't see it then. Because if, just like your kalim in the house, if they absorb milkix and then use them for plastics, it's a problem. If they absorb plastics, use them for milkix, it's a problem. So what's natural, your natural teeth are not a shayvus. Your natural teeth, the Abishta created us like this, doesn't tell you what to give it to angels, so whatever. But if you put foreign substances into your teeth, then they're like a vessel. So it's milk or the plastic, it's covered to the paper. So there are various hatadim that are applied and commonly accepted, but there's a matter of concern. So this is what the Rebbe Rashab told. So he started discussing with the Rebbe Rashab the various halachika and diminishing the intensity of the problem. How it's not directly from the fire, and it's not so hot, and whatever, all the, and it's everywhere. All the hatadim that there are. And he brought in his presentation of the matter, he diminished the issue to a safek chashash iser d'rabbanan. There's no iser d'oraisa over here at all. And it's a chashash iser d'rabbanan, not even a chashash, a safek chashash iser d'rabbanan. That's all. That's the maximum that it can come. Rabbi Rashab said, all the pain I could ever have from toothache would not compare to the pain that I would have from considering a suffix kashak. Said that from this, he said, but now he saw Yiras Shamayim. Yiras Shamayim. A Yid should say that all the pain that can have from a toothache doesn't compare to the pain that he would have from knowing that he's engaging in a suffix kashash kisur d'rabbanan. That's his true Yiras Shamayim. And the point of telling a story is not that people shouldn't see dentists. People should see dentists, they should be gesund. Just telling a story to that this Rabbi Kiva Sefer was inspired by the level of Yiras Shamayim, which was completely beyond anything that you would normally expect. So the question is, to what extent does that? So once you have the feeling, you have the church, go to it. I'll tell you the best option. Anyway, the coming to Pesach and the highlight of Pesach, as Pesach is an accumulative experience. Right? Pesach is Nigla Aleim Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu V'Vayde V'Atzmei V'Olam. The King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He Himself, revealed Himself to the people and redeemed them. So you have 7 days, and it's 8 days of this intense revelation of Nigla Aleim Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu V'Vayde V'Atzmei V'Olam. So the highlight of Pesach is at the very conclusion of this experience, last day of Pesach, for at the end of the day, what we know as Mashiach. The Baal Shem Tov would eat 3 meals on Achon Shel Pesach. The third meal he called Sudas Mashiach, and he said that on Achon Shel Pesach is Meir the Ha'ara of Mashiach. The light of Mashiach shines on. So the Rebbe Rashab is actually the one who revealed this concept. It was known, obviously, by the Rabbeim throughout the generations, but it wasn't shared with the Chassidim. The Rebbe Rashab is the one who, in Tafresh Samach Vav in 1906, when he had the meal in Achon Shel Pesach together with the students of Temple is when he revealed the concept of Sudas Mashiach, and when he introduced the concept of drinking 4 kosers at Sudas Mashiach. So, being that this is our last year before Pesach, so I figured we'll use the first part of the year to expound a little bit on the concept of Achon Shel Pesach in general and Sudas Mashiach in particular. So in this Sefer, Megoylel Me'Geula, which is also translated into English as From Exile to Redemption, it's written by great Talmud Chacham Tzfach, Rabbi Leo Friedman, like Elliot Friedman, and he collected sichos of the Rebbe and the previous Rabbi, the subject of redemption. There's one subject specifically on the subject of Sudas Mashiach. He took from the Fabrengens of the Rebbe over the years. The Rebbe Fabrengen so many years after Pesach and spoke about the significance of Sudas Mashiach and answered a lot of questions about Sudas Mashiach. So he made a combination of the sichos of the Rebbe. He took excerpts from sichos of the Rebbe on the subject and put it together as an essay on Sudas Mashiach. So I'll use this as the source material. First of all, there's a quote from Hayom Yom that the Baal Shem Tov had a custom to eat on Achim Shal Pesach 3 Sudas. And the last Suda, which was towards evening, he referred to as Sudas Mashiach. As he said, on this day shines the revelation of the light of Mashiach. And the year Tafrei Samach Vav, I mentioned before, 1906, the Yeshivas Temchat Pnim and the Lubavitch were founded in Tafrei Nun Zayin, which is 1897. And how it worked the first 2 years, I don't know, but in 1906, Tafrei Samach Vav, it started that the Bachrim would eat the Sudas of Pesach together in the study hall, in the Zal. And the final day of Pesach, Achim Shal Pesach, the Rebbe Rashab joined the Talmidim for the Suda of Yom Tov on the day of Achim Shal Pesach in the Yeshivas Temchat Pnim. And then he instructed that every Talmud should be served 4 cups of wine. And he said that this is Sudas Mashiach. There were 310 Talmidim present, sat out on 18 tables. The Rebbe Rashab came and participated with the Machir and said that everyone should serve 4 cups of wine. That's when they instituted the minhag of drinking 4 cups of wine in the Suda of Achim Shal Pesach. And he said, this is Sudas. So, and this is yeah. So there's a number of questions to help us become more informed about the concept of Sudas. First question is, why was the Baal Shem Tov specifically that instituted this custom? And the answer is that the Baal Shem Tov's Inyan in general has a connection to the revelation of Mashiach. We see this in the famous anecdote that the Baal Shem Tov's neshama ascended on higher of Shana Tafkut Zayin. He entered into the holy chambers in Gan Eden, and he went into the chamber of Mashiach. And he asked, when are you coming? The answer he received was, when your wellspring will spread forth out. So the teachings of Baal Shem Tov will spread forth out and become available to everyone and known to everyone. This is when the Mashiach will come. So we see a clear connection between teachings of the Baal Shem Tov and the coming of the Mashiach. That, secondly, one of the very fundamental teachings of the Baal Shem Tov is that we must serve Hashem with the body, purify the body, and refine the body, and make the body into a vessel for the light of the neshama, rather than break the body with self-afflictions and fasting. And this avodah is connected with the coming redemption, because by the coming redemption, the highest levels of godliness will become revealed in the physical world. As Yeshaya Rabbi says, the earth will be filled with knowledge. The coming of Mashiach will not be about escaping to the heavens. It'll be bringing godliness down into the world, that the earth will be permeated with knowledge. This is one of the fundamental principles of teachers in the Baal Shem Tov, that the way to serve Hashem is not by escaping from the physical, but bringing godliness into the physical. So from these two perspectives, the Baal Shem Tov has a special connection to the physical. And that's why Sudas Mashiach was instituted by the Baal Shem Tov. Next question is, such an important thing, where was it till now? All the generations until the Baal Shem Tov happened, it wasn't instituted. So the answer is, first of all, as the darkness of Golus becomes more intense, we need greater revelations of light and holiness to be able to combat the darkness. So as we come closer to the end of Golus, and the darkness of Golus is so intense, the Eibishter sends to Tzaddikim revelation of new concepts that will help us strengthen ourselves to combat the darkness of Golus. Therefore, after the time of Baal Shem Tov, when we're towards the end of Golus, the darkness of Golus became so intensified, we receive this new revelation of the minhag of Sudas Mashiach. Second of all, as we come closer to the redemption, so there are certain inyanim that are a foretaste of the redemption. As we say about Shabbos, and those who taste from Shabbos before Shabbos come merit life. Similarly, on Erev Shabbos, you taste from the food of Shabbos. Being that the ultimate Shabbos is the Yom Shabbos and the day which is all Shabbos and rest for all eternity, the time of the coming of Mashiach. So as we find ourselves now in Erev Shabbos, so closer to Mashiach, we're tasting from the taste of the teachings of Mashiach and the experience of it. So the minute to eat Sudas Mashiach and Achim Pesach is part of the Toyameh Chaim Zachu as we're approaching the coming of Mashiach. I think I've shared the story before, but Alter Rebbe, after the passing of the Magi, the Mendele Haradoker, Mendele Vitebsker was the senior students of the Magi, and he became pretty much the leader of the students of the Magi. And the persecution from the opponents of Siddur became very intense. The Mendele Vitebsker said, I'd rather not deal with it. I want to serve Hashem in peace and quiet. So he took a group of Hasidim and they moved to Eretz Yisrael, and they dedicated to establishing a community in Eretz Yisrael to serve Hashem according to the teachings of Hashem and Magi. And the opponents of Hasidus, primarily in White Russia and Lithuania, would leave them behind. So the Alter Rebbe originally was going to join this group, and in fact he traveled part way with them. When he came to a certain town called Mola Podolsk, he decided that that's not what the Maggid wanted from him. The Maggid, his Rebbe, the Mishra Maggid, wanted from him to stay in Eastern Europe and spread the teachings of the Shem to the Maggid. So he turned around and he went back to Belarus, and over there he spread and taught the teachings of the Shem to the Maggid the way he believed it is what his Rebbe would have wanted. And he undertook the responsibility of providing the financial assistance that the community in Eretz Yisrael would need. That's when he established Pelul Chabad, Siddhis Lever Balanes, which is very active today in supporting Yidden in Eretz Yisrael. So there were 6 months in which the Alter Rebbe lived in Mola Podolsk as this in this transition state. So when Alter Rebbe was in Mola Podolsk, he had a neighbor who was a very, very simple Jew. And he had a big appetite. And he found out that it's a mitzvah on Erev Shabbos to taste the food of God. So he came home one Erev Shabbos and told his wife, he heard that it's a mitzvah on Erev Shabbos to taste the food of Shabbos. So he'd like to have a piece of the kugel that she prepared for Shabbos. She brought him a piece of kugel. He ate it. He said, it's delicious. It's delicious. It's out of this world. Can I please have another piece? He gave him another piece. He said, wow, this is incredible. Another piece. This is the way he went for another piece. Another piece. There was no kugel. Came Shabbos, there was no kugel. His wife was upset. So she went to the Alter Rebbe's Rebbe. She shared with her the story, and she asked what should she do. The Alter Rebbe's Rebbe was consulting the Alter Rebbe said that perhaps the solution is next Shabbos she should bake two kugels, a big kugel and a little. And when her husband comes home on Friday and has to taste the food on Shabbos, she can give him the little kugel, and until he finishes it, then there will be a big kugel. So it worked the first week. First week it worked. He ate the little kugel and thank you very much, and so it finished. Very good. And then came Shabbos up and sees another kugel. What happened? So he told him a small kugel was good. Very clever, very good. And the next Friday, he finished the small kugel, he asked for the big kugel. And then again he finished it up. Again there was no kugel to come. So again she said that she shared her concerns with Alter Rebbe's Rebbe. Alter Rebbe's Rebbe told him Alter Rebbe said that unfortunately I don't have a solution. The situation is so complicated that I don't have a solution. However, if he would eat on Shabbos with such an appetite, and so I know just bringing the story about connected with the minhag that's brought to the of the tasting the food of Shabbos and Erev Shabbos is a big inyan, and that's because it's a taste of the real Tayamah Chaim Zachu, which is tasting the teachings of Mashiach and the experience of Mashiach, and Erev Shabbos just before the coming of Mashiach. Which is the same idea as brought as far as why Chassidus was revealed Dafka towards the end of Golos. And we discussed on various occasions. Anyway, next question is, why is this Suda fixed specifically on Pesach? Mashiach coming is appropriate any time of the year. Why is the Suda of Mashiach different? And on Pesach itself, why is it on the last day? The answer is that it's well known that by Yetzias Mitzrayim, at the Exodus of Mitzrayim, the whole concept of Geula, redemption, was introduced. That's what's called the psichas hatziner, the opening of the pipe. You have a pipe that's blocked. Nothing can pass through. Push it through, and you open up that opening. So everything that's eventually going to go through the pipe has all been made possible because you opened up that opening, you opened up the pipe. So the redemption from Mitzrayim is called the psichas hatziner, the opening of the pipe for all redemption, including the final redemption. So in a certain sense, the final redemption was facilitated through Yetzias Mitzrayim. Now, since every year, the same hamshacha which happened the first time, same drawing down of divine energy that happened the first time repeats itself. So it's understood that every year on Pesach, there's a new arousal of the revelation of the light of Mashiach. And since every revelation shines at its brightest at the conclusion of that revelation, so it's understood that the forcefulness, the power of the revelation of the light of Mashiach in the most intense way is on Achen Shal Pesach. And in Achen Shal Pesach itself, at the end of the day of Achen Shal Pesach, which explains why the Sudas Mashiach is set for Achen Shal Pesach, and in Achen Shal Pesach itself, at the end of the day. In Eretz Yisrael, they only have 7 days, so Sudas Mashiach at the end of the 7th. Another reason that it's connected to Achen Shal Pesach is that the revelation of the coming redemption is on Achen Shal Pesach because it's the second day of Yom Tov which we keep only in Gol. What's the idea of Yom Tov Sheni Shel Gol? The idea of Yom Tov Sheni Shel Gol is that in Chutzlar, in the time of Golus, you didn't conquer an ordinary day, an ordinary weekday, and they transform it into a day of Yom Tov and Kedusha. In this case, not only Yom Tov and Kedusha, but a day of Yom Tov of liberation and Geula. And this is the same content as the coming redemption itself. The whole idea of the coming redemption is taking Golus itself and transforming it into Geula and revealing godliness in the lowest level. So the idea of taking a regular mundane day and transforming it into a holy day, into a day of Yom Tov, a day of, and specifically a day of Yom Tov of Geula, is the same theme as Mashiach, taking the ordinary mundane world and making it a holy day. So therefore, it's appropriate that the Sudas Mashiach should be not only on Pesach in general, but specifically on Yom Tov Sheni Shel Golius of Pesach. So the second day of Pesach is also Yom Tov Sheni Shel Golius, but ordinarily be Chalamayim. If it wasn't for the Yom Tov Sheni, it would be Chalamayim. Here you're taking a day which is totally a weekday. If it wouldn't be for Yom Tov Sheni, it would be a regular weekday. And this day, Yidden have taken and made and transformed it into a holy day, into a Yom Tov. Incredible thing. I mean, in halacha, it's mind-boggling. There's an obligation to put on film every day. On the second day Yom Tov, one doesn't put on film. Why not? Because it's Yom Tov, and Yom Tov, you don't put on film. But Menatayr, it's not Yom Tov. So Yidden have a kayach to take a regular, ordinary day and transform it into a holy day to such an extent that the holiness is so real that it absolves you from putting on film. So this is an incredible thing, and this is very similar to the concept of the coming of Mashiach, which will take the ordinary, mundane world and make it a holy place of God. I think I've shared the story before that I heard from my father-in-law, Rabbi Yom Klein, who was one of the secretaries, blessed memory, that a Yid once wrote to the Rabbi, a Yid who lived in Brooklyn, and he had children in Eretz Yisrael. He wanted to go for Pesach to Eretz Yisrael. Older couple, basically, they have children. They wrote to the Rabbi, asked the Rabbi for his consent to this. The Rabbi answered, it's not worth missing out on Yom Tov. Because you have the opportunity to have this very special privilege of having an extra day of Yom Tov. You have only those. Don't rush to give it away. What normally would be seen as goals, occasion, never saw it as an incredible, positive opportunity to take a mundane day, an ordinary day, and transform it into a Yom Tov of Kedusha and Kedus and Geula. Incredible thing. I speak that this. Yesh bazeh ma she'ein bazeh. Next question is, what benefit is there from eating a physical meal connected with Mashiach? You would think that it'd be more appropriate to learn a maimer about Mashiach, Sicha about Mashiach, to have a discussion about Mashiach, question and answer session on Mashiach. We sit down on the last moments of Yom Tov, and we have a Su'udas Mashiach. Why? How does physical food come to? So the answer is that this Su'udah takes the concept and the sensitivity to the coming redemption and causes it to permeate not only all the faculties of the soul, including the faculty of action, but also the physical body. By eating physical food that becomes blood and flesh, part of our bodies. And this is, in a sense, the difference between the revelation of Mashiach as it comes through in Sudas Mashiach, and between the revelation of Mashiach as it comes through in the Haftarah of the Haftarah, which also talks about the fear. The saying the Haftarah has an influence on one's power of thought and one's power of speech, while the Suda is connected with the physical body. And the goal of the Suda, the purpose of the Suda is that from it should be drawn, the light of Mashiach should be drawn from it into all matters and all details of daily life throughout the entire year. Simply speaking, that all a person's deeds, even the physical matters, will be permeated with Kedusha, a taste of the way the world will be after they do, including the Mesiras Nefesh of Yechidah Nefesh, which is Mashiach within the soul. Next question is there anywhere in the revealed Torah where it alludes to this concept that Achim Shapes is connected with it? It's a concept that's brought in the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov and the Chassidus, but where do we find it in the revealed Torah? Well, the answer is that in Achim Shapes, we mentioned before, the Haftarah, it comes from Yeshaya, chapter 10 and 11, talks about, it begins with the words, Oid Hayoim B'Noiv La'amud. And the first few psukim are a prophecy about the downfall of some time. The reason, says in Shulchan Aruch, why we read this of Torah on Achim Shal Pesach, it's because the downfall of Sancherib, king of Assyria, tried to attack Yerushalayim. So his downfall took place on the night of Pesach. But the question seems quite obvious. Sancherib downfall was the first night. Why do we read this of Torah on Achim Shal Pesach? And second of all, it's only the first few psukim of Torah we're talking about. Most of the Torah speaks about Mashiach. Therefore, it appears to say that the connection of this Haftarah to Achim Shal Pesach is also because this day has a strong connection. And even the first few psukim that speak about the downfall of Sancherib and the victory of Chizkiah is also connected to Mashiach, because the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, Bikesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'asas Chizkiah, the Eibishter wanted to make Chizkiah Mashiach. Next question is, this minhag of eating Sudas Mashiach and Achim Shal Pesach, it would seem is most appropriate for select individuals, tzaddikim, for very special people. The Rebbe seems to encourage that get as many people as possible every year to partake in Sudas. Every year, every Tom, Dick, and Harry is connected with such a lofty concept of Sudas Mashiach. The answer the Rebbe gives is that Mashiach is going to include every single Jew, independent of where he's holding. And therefore, it's incumbent upon every Jew to prepare for the redemption, including through participating in Sudas Mashiach. And since mitzvah gereres mitzvah, a mitzvah brings another mitzvah, it's true. So it's clear and obvious that the fact that he participates in Sudas Mashiach will lead to additional activities that will hasten and bring closer the ultimate redemption. That's answer number one. Answer number two, within every Jew, there's a spark of Mashiach. Therefore, it's understood that there isn't anywhere in the world a Jew that the revelation of Mashiach, of Sudas Mashiach, doesn't have a connection. Participating in Sudas Mashiach only helps develop this spark and bring it out. Next question he asks over here is, why is the minhag of drinking 4 cups of wine at Sudas Mashiach? Why was that introduced by one of the Nesiim of Chabad? Before that, the Rebbe Rashab introduced stuff. The Sudas Mashiach in general was established by Hashem. But the minhag of drinking 4 cups of wine at Sudas Mashiach was instituted after by the Rebbe Rashab, who's one of the. So the answer is that the teachings of Hasidus Chabad explains the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov and brings them into comprehension and tries to inject a taste and a delight into the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. This is the essential difference between matzah and wine. Matzah is poor man's bread, doesn't have taste as chametz does, while wine has a taste. Not only it has a taste, it also brings the joy and delight. So the idea of bringing joy and delight into the teaching of Baal Shem Tov is in Chabad. Therefore, it's appropriate that the adding wine into the menu of Sudas Mashiach came from one of the Rabbeim of Chabad. Why was this minhag established, as we said before, specifically in Yeshivas Temple? The answer is that the Rebbe Rashab, the architect today, founder of the Yeshiva, he referred to the Talmud and the Talmudim as Chayale Beis David, soldiers of the house of David, and explained why does he refer to them as Chayale Beis David? Because their function is to bring Mashiach ben David through their activities and spreading the wellsprings of Chassidus outward. So this additional institution, this additional component within Chassidus Mashiach itself, to have the 4 cups of wine, was instituted in a place which was established in order to hasten the coming. Why is the drinking of 4 cups of wine at the end of the Yom Tov rather than at the beginning of the Yom Tov? First night of Pesach, we drink the 4 cups of wine the first night of Yom Tov. So why over here is it drinking of the 4 cups at the end of the Yom Tov rather than at the beginning of it? And the answer is that the drinking, the 4 first days of Yom Tov in general are connected with the redemption from Egypt, where the focus is on the beginning of a new epoch. Right? The Jewish people were liberated from Egypt and started a new epoch. An epoch in which the completeness of the world was achieved through the giving of the Torah. Tzias Mitzrayim was a preparation for the Torah. Therefore, the drinking of the 4 cups, which correspond with this redemption, is at the beginning of the day, beginning of the 24-hour period. Achim Shal Pesach is connected with the ultimate redemption. And when we speak about the ultimate redemption now, before the redemption, it's essentially looked at as the end of an epoch, the end of the epoch of Golus and its Avodah. Therefore, the time for drinking the 4 cups that correspond to the coming redemption is at the end of the day. Another explanation is that it says, by Mashiach, it says, Yarim Hanisa V'Gava Me'oid. So the word Me'oid is used in connection. Me'oid is in Rosh Hashanah, Mashiach Adam David. In other words, that the letter Mem for Mashiach is the first letter in the word. Now, during the time of Golus, the tziruf, the combination is Adam. Adam Arishain, Adam, David, Mashiach. Chronological order. It says by Mashiach, Yorim Venisa V'Gava Ma'id. The Ma'id is Rosh Hashanah, Mashiach, Adam, David. Yorim Venisa V'Gava Ma'id is Mashiach will be exalted and uplifted very, very high. Yeah. So Ma'id is Rosh Hashanah, Mashiach, Adam, David. So Divrei Yamim starts with the word Adam. Adam says it. Adam is Rosh Hashanah, Adam, David, Mashiach. And Ma'id is Rosh Hashanah, Mashiach, Adam, David. So the time of Golus, Siruf is Adam. Starts with Adam, then David, and Mashiach. So the mem of Mashiach is at the end of it. And and therefore, the drinking of the 4 cups of Sudas Mashiach, the way we do it at the end time of Golus, is at the end of the day. During the time of Golus, the mem of Mashiach is at the end of it. Mashiach will come and become Ma'oid, the mem at the beginning. Next question is there any source in the Gemara for drinking 4 cups of wine on this mission? So it brings that one of the reasons that brought the Gemara for drinking 4 cups of wine on Pesach, I'd say that corresponds to the 4 cups of retribution that the Abish is going to give the nations of the world at the end of time. And corresponding to these 4 cups of retribution that the nations of the world will be given to drink, the Abish is going to give the Jewish people 4 cups of comforting, of consolation. So this we understand. This is the way it says in the Yerushalmi and Tzachim, beginning of the 10th chapter. This is understood, the 4 cups of Achim Shal Pesach at the end of the day, Sudas Mashiach, are in order to arouse the revelation of 4 cups of. Okay, we'll hold it over here, unless there are any questions on this, and we will just conclude with something that I've said in Tavshin Chaf, Sudas Mashiach, Tavshin Chaf, 1960. He said the 4 cups of Seder night, the cups of Moshe Rabbeinu, the 4 cups of Achim Shal Pesach, Sudas Mashiach, are the cups of Mashiach. If there are any questions on what we've learned till now, please feel free to ask them. And if there aren't, we're going to move on to that. There's some, yeah. I'm not familiar with the background of that meaning, but I'm aware. In Tanya, we're about to start Perek Nun Gimel, chapter 53, last chapter of the Putei Amar.
277, 278.
Thank you very much. 277, 278, the numbers on the bottom of the page. The number on top of the page is Ayin Dal. So this chapter is going to sum up the whole discussion that we've been having ever since we started chapter 51 about the meaning of the word Shekhinah. In fact, at the beginning of chapter 51, the Alter Rebbe set himself a task to give additional explanation on what does it mean that the Shekhinah dwelt in the Holy of Holies, as well as wherever the Shekhinah dwells. What does it mean? The Shekhinah shining, the Shekhinah dwelling. Isn't God everywhere? So we went through various discussions in the last two chapters explaining the concept of Shekhinah with a muscle from the human experience of Nefesh HaAdam. And we explained that just like in the soul, you have the soul itself, the essence of the soul, which is equally in the entire body. You can't say that any part of the body is more alive than another part of the body. Every part of the body has the essence of the soul fully present in it. And then you have the expression of the soul, the manifestation of the soul in a contracted manner that fits into each organ of the body, in each limb of the body, in each detail of the body, in accordance with its capacity. And that changes from place to place. Now, where does that come from? So we explained that it doesn't come from the essence of the soul itself. The essence of the soul is not composed of 613 different energies that divide into 613 organs and sinews of the body. Rather, the essence of the soul is indivisible. It's the essence of life. And where does all the individual energy and life force that comes to all the individual organs and limbs of the body, where does it come from? It comes from a unit, which is the source of all life-giving, which is an aspect within the soul. So you end up having three levels. You have the soul itself, which is indivisible and higher than being designated to any specific location. You have the individual energy and life force that comes to each part of the body differently. That obviously goes through tremendous contractions and adjustments to be able to become like in a way that is suitable for every recipient according to its limitations and according to its capacity and its nature. Then you have the intermediary level, which we refer to as the Mishkan HaNefesh, the indwelling of the soul, which is the source of all revelation of the soul, the source of all life-giving and energizing coming from the soul. So it's not the soul itself. The soul itself is indivisible, but you have the unit from which all life-giving and all energy-giving from the soul emanates from. That's the Mishkan HaNefesh. And that dwells, we said, in the brain. Therefore, the brain is the place where the most intense levels of life revelation from the soul are expressed. The person understands in the brain, feels in the brain, the nervous system all starts from the brain. The will comes from the brain, understanding, knowledge, seeing, hearing, it's all located in the head and in the brain. And from the brain, it contracts itself and adjusts itself to all the different limbs of the body, each one in accordance with its unique character. Similarly, we said the same thing is true in heaven. The essence of Hashem is absolutely indivisible, indescribable, cannot be located in one place more than in another. Hashem is everywhere. The highest worlds and the lowest worlds equally. Just like he's present in the highest worlds, so he's present in the lowest worlds. Just like he's concealed from the lowest worlds, he's also concealed from the highest. Then you have the energy which comes down into every world and every creation according to its limited characteristics. And it's exactly fitting for the characteristics of each and every recipient. So that is the detailed chayus of the nefesh as it comes down to each creation in a limited way, in a contracted way, according to its nature. Then you have the in-between stage, which is the Shekhinah. The Shekhinah is the source of all divine revelation, not the essence of Hashem. It's the source of all divine revelation before it's broken down and before it's contracted into specific doses of revelation or of life-giving and energy-giving that fit the individual recipient. And just like in the human condition, the place where the Mishkan HaNefesh dwells is in the brain. So the Shekhinah dwells in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The Kodesh HaKadoshim is the brain. What is the Kodesh HaKadoshim? Why is that the place where the Shekhinah dwells? So in the first two chapters, 51 and 52, we spoke about how this is in the spiritual realm. And we said that the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies of the spiritual realms, are, first of all, the Shekhinah in the spiritual realms is the level of Malchus. And we explained why is the Shekhinah the level of Malchus. Malchus means kingship. Kingship is an aspect of a person that is not about himself. It's about his relationship with outside of himself. The king has his own understanding and his own feelings and his own experiences. He's called, his aspect of kingship is the way he relates to the subjects which are beyond him. Just like in every person, we say Malchus peh. Malchus is the mouth, speech. Speech is the character trait within a person, it's the faculty within a person which is about relating to the world outside. The person has his understanding, he has his will, he has his emotions. That's all the way within himself. But speech is a faculty which is used only to connect to the world outside. Similarly, in the divine, the Shekhinah, which is Malchus, is that aspect of godliness which is all about being sheichen u'mislabish, dwelling and enclosing himself in the world. So the source of all indwelling of godliness, the source of all life force that is about giving life to the world beyond Hashem himself, that the source for all that is in Malchus, which is called the Shekhinah, because it's sheichen u'mislabish v'eilus, and it dwells and encloses itself. So the whole concept of godliness extending itself to something beyond itself, that comes from the first place that happens is in the Shekhinah itself. And then from the Shekhinah itself, it's broken down into individual doses of life force and revelation that fit each world and each creation in accordance with its unique capacity. So where does the Shekhinah express itself? So we explained in the previous chapter that if the Shekhinah can't really express itself anywhere, the Shekhinah itself is too high, it's too great, it's too overwhelming. The only container that we can find that might be able to be a suitable container for the Shekhinah to be contained in is the Torah, the wisdom and the will of Hashem. Because the wisdom and the will of Hashem is essentially higher than Shekhinah. Shekhinah is Malchus and Atzilus. The wisdom and the will of Hashem, which is Torah, Chaflasi Shalach and Baruch Hu, is Chachma Bina Das of Atzilus, which is higher than Shekhinah. Therefore, it doesn't have a problem absorbing the intensity of the Shekhinah. But at the same time, it has the benefit of the fact that Torah descended into the lowest realms. We study Torah about physical things. We say the Torah, which is the wisdom of Hashem, is contained even in ordinary physical matter. So Torah has the incredible benefits on both sides. On one hand, it's higher than Shekhinah because it's Chachma of the Eibishter, higher than the Eibishter. And at the same time, it's the Chachma of the Eibishter as it descends into the lowest realms. Remember, we talked about in the previous chapter how it comes down into the world of Atzilus, into the world of Bria, into the world of Yitzira, the world of Asiya, the different dimensions of Torah, how Torah comes down. So therefore, Torah has the ability to contain the Shekhinah. So just like the Shekhinah is in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, what is the Kodesh HaKadoshim? The Kodesh HaKadoshim in the higher worlds is the Chachma Bina Das of each world. The Chachma Bina Das, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of godliness is the Torah. And the will of Hashem, which is the mitzvah. So the way that's contained in the world of Bria, so the Shekhinah, which is Malchus of Atzilus, descends and encloses itself in the Chachma Bina Das of the world of Bria. That is the Kodesh HaKadoshim of the world of Bria. And through being enclosed in the Chachma Bina Das of the world of Bria, which is the Kodesh HaKadoshim of the world of Bria, it comes down into the Malchus of Bria. And from the Malchus of Bria, it becomes the source of life of all the creations and existences of the world of Bria. So all the neshamas and the malachim and all the various creations and existences that are in the world of Bria get their life force from Malchus Atzilus, which is Shekhinah, enclosing itself in the Chachma Bina Das of Bria, in the Kachik Yelashim of Elam Bria, coming down then into the Malchus of Elam Bria, and Malchus of Elam Bria is the source of life for all the creations of Elam Bria. Then we said that it goes further. The Malchus of Elam Abriya, together with the Shechina of Atzilus, which is enclosed in it through the Kachim of Abriya, descends further, goes through further transactions, further, contractions, and becomes absorbed in the Kachim HaKadashim of the world of Yitzirah. So through many more contractions, the Shechina of the world of Briya, Malchus of Briya, descends and encloses itself in the Kedesh HaKadashim of the world of Yitzirah. That then comes down and encloses itself together with the Malchus of Briya. It comes down into the Kachim HaKadashim, the Chachma Bin Das of Yitzirah, and comes down into the Malchus of Yitzirah. And the Malchus of Yitzirah is responsible for providing life force and energy for all the creations of the world of Yitzirah. So the Shechina of Briya is coming down through the Chachma Bin Das of Yitzirah, and then through the Malchus of Yitzirah, into the world of Yitzirah. So all the creations and all the beings of the world of Yitzirah get their life force through the Malchus of Yitzirah. Then we said it goes a step further, that the Malchus of Yitzirah, which is the Shechina of Yitzirah, closes itself into the Kedesh HaKadashim of the world of Asiyah. And that encloses itself into the Malchus of the world of Asiyah. And through there, through tremendous contractions, comes down the life force and the energy for the creations and the beings of the world of Asiyah. So this is all talking about the spiritual Kedesh HaKadashim that exist in the world of Bri, Yitzirah, Asiyah. And we spoke about how the Shechina, which is the Malchus of Atil, comes down into the Kedesh HaKadashim of Briya. The Shechina, which is the Malchus of Yitzirah, comes down to the Kedesh HaKadashim of the Shechina, which is the Shechina, which is the Malchus of Briya, comes down into the Kedesh HaKadashim of Yitzirah, and then through the Malchus of Yitzirah gives energy and life force to all the creations of Yitzirah. Then the Shechina, which is the Malchus of Yitzirah, comes down into the Kedesh HaKadashim of Asiyah until it comes down into the Malchus of Asiyah. And from there come all the creation, the energy and the life force of all the creation of Asiyah. What we haven't touched on yet is what about the physical Kedesh HaKadashim in the physical world? In the physical world, there's also a Kedesh HaKadashim in the Beis Hamikdash. So which level of Shechina manifests itself in the Kedesh HaKadashim in the Beis Hamikdash? So based on what we learned in the chapters 51 and 52, it would seem, if we didn't have chapter 53, we would just do some guesswork based on the information we have from 51 and 52. So we would say, let's figure it out. The Malchus of Briya, of Atzilus, comes down into the Kedesh HaKadashim of Briya, and then that becomes the source of life through coming down to the Malchus of Briya, to all the creations of the world of Briya. The Malchus of Briya comes down into the Kedesh HaKadashim of the world of Yitzirah, and then through enclosing itself in Malchus of the world of Yitzirah, that becomes the source of energy and life force to all the creations of Yitzirah. And then the Malchus of Yitzirah, which is a much more contracted form of Shechina, comes down into the Kedesh HaKadashim of the Asiyah HaRuchnis, of the spiritual world of Asiyah. And then through coming down into the Malchus of Asiyah, it becomes the source of life of all the angels and souls and all the creations and all the beings of the spiritual world of Yitzirah. So what would happen if we want to now descend into the Kedesh HaKadashim of Asiyah HaGashmi, of the physical world of Asiyah? It would probably be the lowest level of Shechina. From the bottom of the line, from Malchus of Asiyah, that would enclose itself in the Kedesh HaKadashim of this physical world. Says the Alter Rebbe, I'm going to treat you to a surprise. When the first Beis Hamikdash was in which the Kedesh HaKadashim of the first Beis Hamikdash, there was the actual honoring in which were contained the actual luches that the Eibishter gave Moshe Rabbeinu on Har Sinai. And they were bebeis Kodshei Kodshim. They were in the Holy of Holies of the first Beis Hamikdash. We know that was one of the major differences between the first Beis Hamikdash and the second Beis Hamikdash. In the first Beis Hamikdash, there was an honoring with luches. On the second Beis Hamikdash, there was no honoring. There were no luches. It was hidden away by Yeshio HaMelech in the tunnels underneath the vaults and the tunnels underneath the Beis Hamikdash, and there was no honoring and luches in the Kedesh HaKadashim of the second Beis Hamikdash. But in the first Beis Hamikdash, the honoring and the luches were in the Kedesh HaKadashim. So when the first Beis Hamikdash stood, the honoring and the luches were present in the Kedesh HaKadashim. So the original level of Shechina, the highest level of Shechina that we talked about here in this whole equation, which is the Malchus of the world of Atzilus, the highest world. So the Shechina, which is the Malchus of Atzilus, the revelation of the infinite light of Hashem, was dwelling right there in the physical Kedesh HaKadashim. And it was enclosed in the Aseres Hadibres, within the Luchais that were in the Arin of the first place. The Yeser Se'es, the Yeser Eis, with greater strength and greater vigor. The Gilu Ravi Otam, with a much greater revelation and a much more intense revelation, Migiluya Be'echolish Kachikachim, more than it was revealed in the chambers of the Kodesh HaKadoshim Shalamayla Ve'elam Asal. So the way that the Shekhinah came down into the physical Kodesh HaKadoshim in the Beis Hamikdash was a much higher and much more intense level of Shekhinah than that which came down into the supernal Kodesh HaKadoshims of the higher. Why? In what way was it higher? And what's the reason? Yeah, Senes HaDivrei saying Klovus HaTeirah Kula, the Nafka Megechach Me'ila, the Le'ela Me'alma Dizgam. Because the Ten Commandments, the Senes HaDivrei, they are the generality of the entire Torah. Which Torah comes from the supernal wisdom, which is much higher than the revealed world. So we explained that in Sfiris, the world, the Shekhinah, which is Alma Dizgalia, the source of all revelation, is in Malchus of Atzilus. Right? So that's the initial Shekhinah, Malchus of Atzilus. And from there it comes down to the Kodesh HaKadoshim of the world of Bria. But in the physical Kodesh HaKadoshim, where you have the Arin and the Luchis is the essence of Torah. Torah comes from the Chachma Bina Das of the world of Atzilus. So Torah in essence is even higher than the Shekhinah. So the Shekhinah doesn't need any contractions to come down into the world of Torah. And as Torah was present in the Kodesh HaKadoshim of the physical world. So therefore, it was straight from Malchus of Atzilus. It came down into the Kodesh HaKadoshim of the physical world. In order to take this energy of Torah and have it engraved and carved into physical luchas, physical tablets of stone. So how does all physicality work? How does the creation of physicality work? Have the Shekhinah, which is Malchut Atzilus, comes down into the Kodesh HaKadoshim of Bria, from which it comes down into the Malchus of Bria, it comes down to further tzimtzumim, further contractions, into the Kodesh HaKadoshim of Yetzirah, and then into the Malchus of Yetzirah, and then it goes to the Kodesh HaKadoshim of Asiyah, and then into the Malchus of Asiyah, and finally, through further contractions, it comes down into the physical world. So since we're dealing here in the physical world, you would expect a similar process. And this process diminishes and diminishes, contracts and diminishes, right? But in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, where you have the essence of Torah, which transcends the Shekhinah, here the Shekhinah came down directly, without any contractions whatsoever. In order to engrave them in physical stone, it didn't go down through all this process of diminution after diminution, the way of Shtal Shuluzayim. Because the physical world conducts itself according to the rules of the physical nature. So in order to come down to a world that conducts itself according to the rules of nature, you have to go through all these diminutions and contractions. But the luchas were the work of God. The luchas were totally miraculous. They didn't keep to the rules of the limitations of the physical world. And the writing in the luchas was the writing of God. We transcended the nature of the physical world. The physicality in this world gets its life force from the Kadashim of the world of Asiyah. From it extends itself light and life force from the world of Asiyah. Which this physical world is also part of the world of Asiyah. But rather, in the Kodesh HaKadoshim of the Beis Hamikdash, it was a whole different story. The supernal wisdom of the world of Atzilus. Which is the general idea of the Torah, which is the Slabsha of Malchus Atzilus, that enclosed itself in the Malchus of the worlds of Atzilus and Bria themselves. They themselves, united with the Ein Sof within them, they are called Shekhinah, and that's what dwelt in the Holy of Holies of the first Beis Hamikdash. The nest was being enclosed with the Ten Commandments as they were engraved in the tablets of the Ark miraculously. The works of the living God. As we know that there were incredible miracles manifest in the world. the luchas, there was a mem, and first of all, the luchas were engraved, and according to some opinions in the Shalmi, they were engraved in all four directions. So whichever side you looked at the luchas, you saw them, you saw it written straight. Now, generally, if you carve something through and through, there's two issues. One issue is that when you look at one side, you can see it straight. You look on the other side, you're going to see mirror writing. Right? If it's carved through and through, then on the back, it's going to be backwards. So the luchas, first of all, whichever way you looked at them, you saw it straight. That was a miracle in itself. And especially according to the opinion that they were from all four sides, it was even more miraculous. It was carved through and through with from four sides. And whichever way you looked at it, you saw only the front. You saw clarity. You saw it straight. Then there was another problem. You have a mem, final mem, which is a square, and a samach, which is a similar shape. So how do you make a mem and a samach? So if you're right, it's not a problem. You make a mem and a samach. You have ink, you have white in the middle. But if you carve and you carve through and through, so when you make a mem which is completely closed, the inside is going to fall out. You'll be left with nothing. Same thing with the samach. So it says that the mem and the samach and the luchas retain their existence within miraculously. Normally, the stone, you carve out a mem in the stone, and you carve it through and through. So the middle of the mem will fall out. And here, the middle of the mem and the middle of the samach retained their existence in their place, in the luchas, and they didn't fall. This is a miracle. So being that the whole existence of the luchas was miraculous existence, so it didn't fit into the rules of this physical world. So therefore, the Shekhinah, which is Malchus B'Atzilus, enclosing itself into the Malchus of Bria, came straight down into the physical Kodesh Kodashim, where the luchas and the arim were, and it didn't need to go through any further control. So we understand that when the Kodesh came down into the Kodesh Kodashim in the first place, he encountered the most incredible revelation of God. When he says Ma'aseh Elikim, he says Alma Diskashia, Hamakanin Be'elam Abriya Kaneda L'Yedachem. Elikim refers to Bina, so that's the concealed world. Malchus is the revealed world, and Bina is the concealed world, which nests in the world of Bria, as is known to those who, study Kabbalah. Chachma is started the hidden wisdom. So we're basically showing over here how, despite the fact that in the higher worlds, there's an entire hierarchy, a whole system, how this contraction, how this diminution process continues from world to world. And when you're talking about the presence of the Shekhinah, the Kodesh HaKodashim, we're talking about the real thing. We're talking about the Shekhinah as it's in its totally uncontracted form, and that came down into the physical Kodesh HaKodashim of the first Beis HaMikdash. So the Shekhinah is dwelling in the Kodesh HaKodashim, means that the Shekhinah, the source of all divine revelation, as is Malchus B'Atzilus, came directly down into the physical world of the Kodesh HaKodashim, the physical world. Therefore, when the Kohen Gadol went into the Kodesh HaKodashim on Yom Kippur, the first Beis HaMikdash, he actually saw the most incredible revelation of the Shekhinah itself in the most incredible way. That is as far as the first Beis HaMikdash is concerned. What about the second Beis HaMikdash? That will learn Yitzhak Hashem next year. Let me take this opportunity to wish everyone a good Chodesh. We just entered into a new Uladika month, and it should be a kosher and a freilich and Yom Tov, and to just mention the Rebbe's emphasis on doing everything that we possibly can to have as many, to mizaka as many yidden schus, of eating hand-baked shmura matzahs at the Seder for the Kazayas matzah. So anyone that you have any influence on, you might be able to have any influence on, get them, to give them, or to encourage them to get hand-baked shmura matzahs that are baked shma with paradayas for the Tuzdarim. That's a tremendous thing. And when it comes to the mitzvahs of the Seder night, there's absolutely no difference between men and women. And the other thing is that besides the prohibition of eating chametz on Pesach, there's also a prohibition of owning chametz on Pesach. That's why we're into this whole cleaning for Pesach. We don't want to have any chametz in our possession on Pesach. Some people find it very, very difficult, especially with the complicated lives that we live today, get rid of all the chametz. And there is a very simple solution. The very simple solution is to sell the chametz. Sell the chametz means to sign on a document which is given to a Rav, which is organized by a Rav, that the chametz that's in one's possession is sold to a guy. Now, there are many people who are not aware of this. They don't understand the severity of the prohibition of owning chametz on Pesach, even if they won't eat chametz on Pesach, but they don't understand about the severity of owning chametz on Pesach. So if you can be mezakeh to sign on a star of mechiras chametz, so that legally all the chametz merit protection goes over for the 8 days of Pesach, who becomes the property of the non-Jew, and therefore they are not being over every minute of the Yom Tov of Pesach and Bal Yirah and Bal Yimotza. You're saving a yid from so many avedas. Every kazayis chametz, if you own a kazayis chametz on Pesach, throughout the 7 days of Pesach, you're over every single second on a mitzvah leisus and a Torah la Yirah chametz v'leimotza. And it's such an easy thing to prevent, because just by signing a document that gives over all the chametz in one's possession to a guy, one is not being over on that decision. So that is again another thing that you can, people that you have any influence on, or you reach out to, and you can get them to sign the Shtar Mechiras Chametz. It's a tremendous, doing a yid a tremendous favor, and the schus of Abbas Yisrael, helping Yidden and encouraging Yidden to do the mitzvahs and do them the simcha. The Eibishter should help long before we come anywhere near Pesach. Should already be the Nisan Nigalu, the Nisan Asit Nigal. We should see the Geula, Mitzvah Vashlema, the true redemption, Shiur. We should all be celebrating Pesach together in the Beis Hamikdash Hashlishi. Noichal Sham and Azvachim and Apsachim. We should eat in the Beis Hamikdash Hashlishi from the Karban Pesach, the most literal sense. This year, Mamish Pesach, we should eat from the Karban Pesach on the night of Pesach in the Beis Hamikdash Hashlishi.
Amen.
Pesach to everyone. The next year will take place not the day after Pesach, Wednesday. There won't be a Shiur the day after Pesach. But there will be a Mitzvah Hashem. The Shchedesh Iyar is on Wednesday and Thursday. The first day of the Shchedesh Iyar, Mitzvah Hashem, 12 o'clock, will be Mitzvah Hashem continuing. Let's hope to be in Yerushalayim, Shchedesh, Kibana, the Sikhanim, and Erev Yom.
Amen. Thank you.
Very much.
Kosher Frilchen Pesach.
Thank you.